Chair, yeah, I just wanted to come back into revenue. I wouldn't want you to feel left out, folks. No, it's very simply, in the 2020 annual report, there was a misclassification error that was identified, and I really just want, for the benefit of the committee, it was to the value of 33 billion euros, if I'm correct, and it's based on the levy income that's dealt with by revenue and handed over to CBI. Now, was that a particular, if you could just explain how that occurred and what's happened to rectify it, please.
Thank you, Deputy. And Chair, as this is my first opportunity to intervene, I'd just like to open by saying that on behalf of Revenue, that we sincerely apologise for and regret the errors identified in our administration of the collection of and accounting for the insurance compensation fund contributions. Those errors have now been fixed. The reason they arose because of a change we made to our payment system back in 2016. The IT changes were made with the best of intentions and were designed to improve the tax payment system for taxpayers by introducing an electronic platform, payments platform, known as RevPay. This platform applied to about 30 taxes and duties. They were previously paid by way of cheque and electronic fund transfer. Unfortunately, the IT changes made in introducing RevPay adversely affected the way the contributions to the insurance compensation funds were accounted for. The contributions paid under the new RevPay system were incorrectly allocated to the Exchequer as part of the receipts for the insurance stamp duty levies, instead of being paid to the central bank for inclusion in the insurance compensation fund. It was 33 million that went missing, not missing, but was misallocated over the 3-year period. Revenue has now fixed the IT errors and has in fact introduced, for both the stamp duty levies and the insurance compensation fund contributions, a new, much improved pay and file system, which will ensure that a similar situation will not reoccur, and that the system will account for the payments and the filing of the returns in real time, and there won't be a historic build-up of misallocation of funds.
So just to be clear, Mr. Creighton, was it an IT glitch?
Yes, unfortunately, we developed this RevPay platform for a large range of taxes and duties, as I said, over 30. It was designed to make it easier to pay taxes and duties. The IT people designing the thing didn't quite talk to the right people in terms of the nature of the insurance compensation fund. They assumed that the insurance compensation fund was similar to the various levies.
Just back up there now for a minute. When you say they, like, clearly there was expertise required in identifying what was required for such a robust system. And it wasn't that the system had a glitch, it was the fact that those who actually, what's the word I'm looking for here, tendered it, or, were given misinformation.
No, it's Deputy, it's not that they were given misinformation, it's that they didn't quite talk to the right people.
Well, did they know what they were talking about? But the people that you're telling me that they eventually employed to put in this system didn't either understand or have the expertise?
They had the expertise to do what they were doing, but they assumed that all the taxes and duties concerned were Exchequer taxes and duties. And the ICF comes in alongside a 2% non-life levy, insurance levy. It comes in on the same form. So the development looked at the form, assumed.
But when you say looked at the form, to what kind of in-depth analysis before it went to play? I mean, this could have been a much more serious, 33 million is very serious. I know it went missing for a while and it came back. But like, that really, I'm a bit staggered by the answer. I thought that this had occurred because of manual inputs. But it means that we actually procured something that wasn't fit for purpose. Now, the question I'm really asking you is, whose fault is that? Was it was it at your side when you were identifying what was required, or was it at the side in which case when you received what you requested it was wrong? And in that case, I hope there was compensation paid, because I'm damn sure that this cost a lot of money to fix.
The mistake and error arose at the time of the development, and the developers, which would have been a mix of in-house and contractors, assumed it was an exchequer tax. They didn't talk to the technical experts who would have told them that the ICF element of the payment being made by the insurer should be diverted to the central bank.
How much did it cost
to develop?
To rectify.
To rectify. In a sense, what happened, rather than being a cost, it actually improved the whole system, because we were able to modernise and make an argument to introduce a modern pay and file system, which will ensure that this will never happen again.
Well, I hope the people that did that at least confirmed that what they had said they looked for was being brought in. Like, I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we talk about expertise, and we have PwC who are being sued on the basis of an audit. All of the people, like, I often wonder when we do hire experts, what is it that makes them experts? I really do. I have to question it every day, and it's probably something I'm going to question more. What you're saying is that you had your own people within the department speak to experts in IT development to develop a software that would allow, I suppose, that this couldn't happen, but that all of the facts either weren't taken on board or weren't given.
That's correct.
And I'm trying to ascertain, was it that they weren't taken on board or they weren't given?
Back in 2016, when the original RevPay system was developed, the consultation wasn't wide enough.
Wasn't wide enough. Well, I'm not going to look at it. I think the reality is you have obviously carried out an internal review, which has now resulted in. But what I'd like you to do then for the committee, because I wasn't expecting your answer, I'll be quite honest, I want a report, or whatever report was carried out, submitted to the committee, so that we can see, was there a cost to what happened, other than the 33 million that was missing for 3 years and subsequently rectified. Maybe the CNAG wants to come in there.
The money wasn't missing at any stage.
No, I understand
it went
that.
into the wrong account. It went into the exchequer.
Yeah.
And then, if you like, there was a subsequent repayment.
No, but
so
what
the
I mean,
money wasn't missing at any stage.
What I mean by a cost is that happened, but then we obviously had to rectify the IT system. Had it been carried out originally as it should have, and there was no rectification or there was no need for an upgrade, it should have probably all have been done at the time in which we were, as you say, this consultation was being carried out. That's what I mean by a cost. Like, it's a bit like if you're building a house and then when it's done you carry out the extension. And it's probably more cost effective to have done it, but in the event that the house was built with a room missing, who was at fault? The architect or the builder?
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to identify.
We can provide the cost of the original 2016 development, and the element may be referable to the insurance levies and the cost of the new pay and file system, which was introduced last year.
Now, did you see it as a problem? I'm not, like, again, it comes down to somebody was at fault. Somebody.
Yeah, as I said, there was 30 taxes and duties, and the bigger the IT project is, the more likely something is going to go wrong. It was identified partly through ourselves when we realised a PQ was given misinformation to the Dáil, and we corrected that in October 2016. At the same time, the central bank came to us around the same time, October, November 2016, questioning the allocation to the Insurance Compensation Fund. So that's when we realised something seriously was going wrong, and we, in conjunction with the central bank, we identified the problem. We moved then to introduce a new pay and file system, a more sophisticated system, a brand new system, in fact, that will cater not just for the insurance levies and the Insurance Compensation Fund contributions, but it will also deal with the financial cards, and will also deal with the health insurance levy that's also collected by Revenue on behalf of one of the Department of Health agencies. So
Okay.
it's a big improvement across the board. In effect, identifying this problem has led to a much improved system
I'm glad to hear it.
across a
And
lot of tax heads.
The CNAG, have you?
I was just going to say, I think the events that Mr. Creighton is describing were probably 2018, 2019, rather than 2016. I think the original development was 2016, but the difficulty, and in fact, I think it was an approach to the central bank that actually triggered queries, I think, in the first place. So I think one of the great advances here was that this was quite a significant fund that really wasn't amenable to transparency and to accountability to the Oireachtas until the 2018 legislation was passed. And so I think that is an improvement.
And is that what identified it? No.
No, well, I think it was the fact, the central bank was looking at developing its own systems of assurance because they had an obligation, if they were putting financial statements to me for audit, they had to be satisfied that the figures were correct. And so it was, if you like, all of a piece.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I mean, as I say, Chair, if that's submitted so as that we can have a look at it. But one quick question for Mr. McAloof.
Briefly, no.
Just interest rates began for the first time where the ECB increased them, I think it was about last August, maybe July of 22. I'm elected 3 years, and in that length of time I have persistently called for the loan to income ratios to be increased. Can you just tell me what was behind your thinking to increase them in early 2023, given that interest rates, like, I suppose from a layman's perspective, their ability to repay went down, and all of a sudden we have the increase in the loan to income ratios from the central bank? I kind of found it, I didn't understand it at a time when people's ability to repay was dwindling. You decided to increase the loan to income ratios. Like, I'm just wondering why you didn't do it 3 years previous.
Sure. Obviously, this is one of the most important policy areas that the central bank is responsible for. The rules, you talked about the loan to income ratio, but essentially the borrower-based measures were introduced in 2015. We decided that they, having actually worked very well for 6 years or whatever, we decided that actually we ought to review the whole framework to make sure that they would work well for the next 6 years. I'm a great believer in reviewing things, even if they're going well, because it's important that they're sustainable for the longer term. So we started a pretty comprehensive review of the measures, which included international conferences, commissioning research papers, consultation with the public, and we came to the conclusions we came to, and we announced in September 2022. The monetary policy decisions that we made at the ECB did not play a part in the judgments that we were making on the macroprudential framework, because the borrower-based measures, because they essentially need to function almost irrespective of what's happening in monetary policy.
And I know that, Mr.
And
McAloof, I
so-
would expect that
so we
would be the
made-
case.
so
How
we
long
made-
did the review take from start to finish?
It took about a year. I think we started it in 2021. It got delayed because of COVID.
But it's fair to say that people would have been, I mean, for the 3 years, 3.5 years I'm elected, people have said they just can't afford a mortgage. They can't get one for 3 years. Now we can't afford the houses, regardless of the loan to income ratios. It doesn't still meet the requirement. So my point is that you were a little late on the basis of the review, albeit that it may be welcome, it's of little benefit because the interest rates have taken up the surplus income that would have for many people. Like there are many people on tracker mortgages with very small mortgages whose increase has seen them paying €100 a month extra, which is a lot of money to small.
And the reason, I hear what you say. I mean, it is almost important to remember that what the ECB is trying to do with monetary policy and putting up interest rates is to tackle inflation, which is actually the problem that hits everybody.
Well, I know,
in the
but that's
country.
outside your control.
No, it's actually, I'm part of the governing council of the ECB, whose job is to maintain price stability, and we're taking the decisions that we've taken to raise interest rates in order to get on top of inflation.
I can appreciate that, but at the same time, it took a long time to review the loan-to-income ratios, and at a time, as I say, it just seems to conflict. The message to people is, you understand what I'm saying from the layperson's perspective. You've increased it when their ability to pay, when they could have possibly acquired the mortgage at a time when their ability to repay was greater.
Thank you.
When interest rates weren't applicable. For everybody, houses were cheaper, everything was cheaper.
Okay.
That's all. Thanks, Chair.
That point. Could I just ask